Rwanda is our new best friend in the UK. We're very much good friends with Rwanda now. Yeah. And the reason is because they have become progressive and tolerant like we used to be, but no more. Because they have decided to put up a sign that says, refugees welcome. They're going to take all of our refugees. So let's start this off with Priti Patel. Decided to tweet this out. British flag, Rwandan flag, part of our new plan for immigration. And if you scroll down there, John, we just announced the UK-Rwanda migration partnership has been signed. So if you're looking for a holiday for Rwanda, there's an easy way, or at least a free way you can do it, which is by becoming a sea people, one of the boat people who come over from France, a horrible, disgusting country, a constant war, and everyone has to flee there. So it gets on a boat and comes over to Britain. Now we're going to ship them to Rwanda instead of keeping them here. So if we go to the next one, this is how I imagine this discussion going down. If you can click on that second image, just between the Rwandan side of this and Priti Patel being our Home Secretary, just no more friendship with France. And the reason for this being that we gave France loads of money to stop this, to stop the sea people, and the French went, thank you for the money, and they did nothing. So we're kind of mad.
Bear in mind, when they do that, they're putting lives at risk. I mean, the crossing the channel, it's like
pointless waste of life.
These people smugglers are making so much money from it, and it's so dangerous. So these desperate people, and obviously people are desperate. They want to come to Britain because it's the best. You know what I mean? They don't want to stop in France.
It's like, wait, you gone
all that way? Why are you only going halfway? Go to a fully free and prosperous country. You know what I mean?
Sorry, if we go to the next link, we can see the situation, because I want to hammer this down first, which is just for foreigners who might not know what we're even talking about.
That's one of the terrible vessels that they use for coming across. That's a P&O ferry.
Rickety.
Anyway. Staffed by people on £1.86 an hour.
So here's the situation. Some 297 crossed the channel in 2018. Last year, the figure was 28,526. In a handful of years, it went from a couple of hundreds to thousands upon thousands.
Yeah.
And is only set to completely increase if we do nothing, of course.
And once people are in the country, once you come to the UK, even if your asylum application takes years to be processed.
But even if you're a piss taker, and it's obvious, and we say no, what is it, 90% of those just disappear?
Yeah, they just disappear, so they stay in the country and work under the
in
counter.
The black market.
Yeah. Well, one of my mates, Bernardo, he's actually been deported now, but he came back twice because illegally, yeah.
That's the thing. It's easy to do.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to be difficult at all.
And he was working. He only got caught because he got in a road rage. Incident. He was delivering flowers for was it Royal Bank of Scotland or something? And but yeah, so he had a van and he was delivering flowers. So he got stopped in a road rage incident. He had no driver's license, no visa to be here. He was like,
even have
it was like nothing. He got sent straight back. And then I remember because he was seeing my friend Emma as well, and she sent his he had a PlayStation. I can't remember what year it would have been. But the PlayStation, so he's from Brazil. So she sent the PlayStation because he sold the PlayStation over there. They had a real shortage of them or something. So he sold it for loads of money. Like the equivalent of months of wages.
Well, anyway, I'm sure he's now enjoying the sun again, presumably. But to hammer it down further, he
was a nice guy though. He should be allowed to stay.
Well, if he applies legally, he'll be able to get it, presumably.
No, so
28,500 of those who are here this year. Of them, the majority are young single men, most of whom are just economic migrants, so have no right to be in the country more than literally Panjit. Just pick a guy on the world, and he has as much right as such people. I mean, the sea people in particular, those coming from France, it's even more of a joke because, of course, you're in France.
Yeah.
I mean, we joke about France being an asshole, and some of it. But Calais, you'll be fine. You'll be able to live there as a refugee. You're not a North Korean in China, for example. The asylum system is costing Britain £1.5 billion a year to house these thousands and thousands of people, with 3.5 million a day to accommodate 25,000 migrants in hotels. And we have that here. I mean, just anywhere in this country I've been now, where my parents are, where people in Reading are, where I used to live, or even here, you know where the hotels are. You know the people who are in it. I mean, there's one of the guys in the office said to me the other day that he walks to work, and every day he walks past like 3 or 4 homeless English people, and you can see they're English, and then walks past this hotel down there where you can see all the migrants, the sea people, who have no more right to be here than anyone else, and they're in a hotel.
Right.
It's naturally pissing a lot of people off.
That just shows the lack of ingenuity on the behalf of English people, because they could go to France and claim asylum.
They could get dinghies back.
Well, because what they're gonna like the dinghies are only coming one day, so it's going to be cheaper on the way back. So they could go to France, claim asylum, live in a hotel in France.
I don't think the French are doing it. I think they've got a much harder policy on this because they've had too many piss takers.
Man, other countries, like everybody's like, oh my god, the Tory party are so evil. They're so evil to immigrants and stuff. And we've got the weakest, laxest. Like, you know, my mate Bernardo was here for years and years and years. And like, if you go, like, I remember trying to move to Canada. I looked into moving to Australia. It's all like point system. And it's difficult to get in. And Thailand, man, you can't own land. You can't own and buy property. You can only get a year's visa at the time. It's got to be renewed every year. You've got to check in with the government every 90 days.
One of our gold medal subscribers is currently there and just endlessly whining about just the nonsense the government does.
Yeah.
I mean, it is mad the way they treat foreigners. But, you know, we are opposite in the other direction. So if we go to the next one here, we can see the story as it's blown up, which is we're now offering one-way tickets to Rwanda for some UK asylum seekers. Thank Christ. Finally, frankly. They're quoting here, some asylum seekers who cross the channel to the UK will be given a one-way ticket to Rwanda under new government plans. The pilot scheme will focus on single men arriving on boats or lorries. So asylum seekers who apply for asylum legally will get it. That's fine. If you're not an asylum seeker, yeah, that's fine. The route they came here legally, that's fine.
Yeah.
What's not fine is turning up in France and saying, no, this isn't good enough. I've been rejected by the French for being a piss taker. Well, I'll just go to Britain and be a piss taker over there. New. Sod off to Rwanda. We'll process you over there as a deterrent.
Yeah, like what he said, but, you know, just sounding a bit less racist.
I know. The asylum seeker race. Like, that's what I love when people call it racist. It's like, which race specifically? Because literally every single race.
But it's, I mean, like, there's real safety issues with the, you know, people who come here legitimately tend not to come here and just getting on something that floats and, you know, paying somebody thousands of pounds to get here. So, you know, there's dangers, especially when people are bringing kids or whatever on these things. Man, like, you can get rough weather, the thing can capsize, people can die. That's serious. It happens. I mean, it happens a lot. Also, we need to make
the last Darwin Award won by one of the individuals that did this. It was a migrant who got to France. I believe he was in Mali with a friend of his, and they were denied by the French because the French were like, "You're obviously taking the piss. Like, you have no right to be here. Go back to Mali. We'll pay for the flights." And they went, "No, not do that." They stole a dinghy, stole 2 metal shovels, and then tried to sail across, like just row their way to England.
Good idea.
The metal shovel went through the dinghy, and one of them drowned. And then they tried to claim it was a child. It wasn't a child. He was in his 30s.
Right.
They're just like, right, yeah, that's a moron.
Yeah. Still eligible for... One of my mates, Moses, he takes and he fosters, him and his wife foster refugee kids, and but they've got their own kids. And he took in a Syrian refugee kid, and the kid turns up, he's supposed to be like, 14. Kid turns up, he's like... 20, 22, something like that.
The whole system is broken.
Moses had to take him back because he's got a 14-year-old daughter. He can't have this guy in the house being a bit Anyway, but so there's the fact that it's dangerous. This thing that the Guardian, all the woke left think is wonderful, which is people coming across on boats, hugely dangerous. It's killing a lot of them. But also this will make Britain a less attractive. It'll put people off. It'll make it a less attractive destination for people.
That's the idea. It's not for genuine.
And we could also just put pictures of Britain up at Calais to show
hellscape.
Yeah. This is Swindon. Are you sure? There's still time to change your mind.
That would work. Go back to southern France.
Yeah.
It's much
Look at the
sunnier.
cheese we have here. Look at the cheese you have in France.
If we go to the next one, we can see that the first glimpse of the hotels that are being set up there. Because again, you have to house them in hotels. So this is Hotel Rwanda. I love that movie. But this is the hotel they've picked here, which is the Hope Guest House. And as you can see, it's, Rwandan standards. It's nothing inhuman. But it is, we're going to house you in a hotel because, you're essentially homeless and insisting that you have asylum here and you came here illegally. We don't really trust you, and we've been through tens of thousands of you now, and every single time, or at least the vast majority we found, have just been taking the piss. So, no.
That looks really nice.
Completely run out of sympathy for anyone who thinks this is a terrible deal compared to what they get in the UK, which is 3-star hotels, which is obviously nicer than this. The biggest complaint here being that there's only 3 showers to share, which is awful. You have to wait your turn. And if we go to the next one, we can see Nigel Farage's criticism of this, and this is the right-wing criticism I've seen that's relevant, which is him saying that it only takes 2 cases of journalists claiming that there's been abuse, and the whole pilot scheme will collapse, and then the government will be made to look foolish. That's
but there's abuse. There's abuse in the UK.
Yeah, there's a lot of people being killed.
Look at the grooming gangs.
Well, there's the one in Scotland. I think it was in Glasgow, Edinburgh. It's Glasgow, where one refugee just went outside stabbing people.
Right.
He was just bored. And the Guardian went with refugee dies in stabbing because the police shot him to death.
Oh,
I'll show you the
evil racist police.
Yeah, I'll show you.
Shot someone just because he was
stabbing innocent people to
exercising his God-given right to run around with a knife stabbing people.
Yeah, so that's the right-wing criticism, but the left's response is the best one. Let's go to it, of course. So start off here, Guardian headline, UK asylum seekers sent to Rwanda. That takes punishment of fellow human beings to a next level. It's inhuman to send them to Rwanda. If we go to the next one, we can see Diane Abbott decided to go with shipping asylum seekers 5,000 miles to Rwanda for processing is both cruel and bizarre. It's cruel. It's unbearable. How could you send human beings to Rwanda? It's not like there's only humans there. If we move to the next one, we can see more responses from leftists here. The UK government plans to send asylum seekers and refugees to Rwanda. It's cruel and inhumane. They're just endless, whining about how this is unbelievable. This is not the way to treat people.
Rwanda's a really nice country. Are they still thinking Rwanda's this like war-torn country with the Hutus and the Tutsis still going at each other?
Yeah, they still think everyone's chopping each other up with machetes because the left apparently gets their worldview from, well, memes.
Yeah, 25-year-old memes.
25-year-old memes. Like, completely out-of-date memes. If we move forward, we can see some more people who are stuck. And
Zara Sultana.
Well, it is kind of cruel to pick on the mentally impaired. But she goes with, this is so disgusting, sickening, cruelty, even by their standards, of sending people to the horrible shores of Rwanda. I don't have any shores, don't know why I mentioned shores. We move to the next one, of course, we can see more of this, which is Douglas Murray points out, yeah, by the way, both the EU and UN resettle people in Rwanda. So not many people seem to know that. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's been 25 years since the genocide.
Yeah.
It's doing fine.
And Douglas Murray has written an amazing book called The Strange Death of Europe, which is a very reasonable book.
Thought we'd done a book club on it. I can't remember.
I've seen it on your. I've seen it in here.
Yeah,
but yeah, fantastic book that's well worth reading.
Yeah, I'll go and check out our book club too at lotusseaters.com. Anyway, go to the next one. We can see the complaints of this about it costing money, and this is bad. It's like, we're spending 1.5 billion to house these people in the UK. But this is leftists here decided to go with the fact that apparently Australians had the same situation, which is they then had to move them all to Papua New Guinea and process them there, and it cost them 10 billion Australian dollar dues. So that's 1.7 million per person. Except, well, no, dummy, because it went from huge numbers of people coming to no one.
That's the thing. It makes the country a less appealing destination because you know you're going to get sent to Rwanda. So then people stop, and there's a huge cost in processing them here. So this, in the long run, it's
you save a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, if we go to the next one, you can see someone making this point about the numbers of people. And we're spending 1.5 billion. The pilot scheme for this is costing 120 mil.
Yeah.
We're saving 90%.
Yeah.
90% of the money we're spending, we're going to save.
Yeah.
That's not a bad deal. That's a bloody great deal.
And also, you've got the unspoken thing is trying to accommodate people who are coming from, ideologies that are, pre-medieval and don't mesh easily with Western liberal society.
I'm going to get this wrong, but I think I calculated it was around about this. 25% of the terrorist attacks we've had in the last 10 years have all come from refugees.
Right.
Many of them from boat people.
Right.
Just happens a lot because Allahu Akbar. Let's move to the next one because we can see the days of NHS spending calculated this. It's 3 days of NHS spending for this entire thing. If we were to spend 1.4 billion on it, okay, we're spending 1.5 billion on our current system, so no, it's not going to cost that much because the cost will immediately evaporate when people stop coming. And if we go to Rwanda, because of course
that sounds quite a lot.
The
3 days of NHS spending is loads. I mean, the NHS is huge.
Well, that's what we're currently spending.
Yeah.
But this is assuming that the numbers will be the same, which it won't because people.
Yeah, exactly. Coming. Yeah, it's a front-loaded cost.
Bollocks. But the left went with it's sickening and disgusting to send human beings to Rwanda. How dare you?
That's racist against Rwanda.
Yeah, the Rwandans weren't too pleased about that.
Yeah, I bet they weren't.
If we go to the next one, we can see their response about all this. See Colin Brazier mentioning that it's a peaceful, stable, relatively prosperous nation. What the hell's wrong with you? What's wrong with Rwanda? If we go to the next one.
I was on Colin's show the other week.
Colin's a good guy.
Yeah.
And this is Rwandan news I found, where they're just praising the deal, just being like, this is great. Like, we're going to get paid a boatload of cash. And all we have to do is house these people in hotels. And if they're, BS people, we just ship them back.
Yeah.
And the British pay for it.
And also, if they're legitimate asylum seekers, then they get to come.
Yeah. It's just like, this is a great deal for everyone. The Rwandans are just sat around apparently just being like, yeah, What's the problem? Why do you like Rwanda?
Yeah.
Like, this is fine. I don't know what's the matter with you people. We're not living 25 years ago. And if we go to the next one, we have the Rwandan government who gave some statement in which they're just like, yeah, we welcome the partnership. It's great. Everyone makes money. Everyone's better off. The real asylum seekers get the real asylum. The fake ones get kicked out. It's just great for everyone. It stops the, people smugglers. It helps everyone, in fact. If we go to the next one, though, there is one party in Rwanda that was upset. I have to include this because it's hilarious. So you can see the Guardian went with, opposition criticized the deal. Oh, what did they say? They asked one party who has no MP, so don't care. They did ask the Green Party, though. The Green Party of Rwanda. What did they have to say? Rwanda has already a high population density, and already land is not sufficient for all of us, which I love because it's the Australian response. If we go to the next one, I don't know if you can click on the second image there. It's just the Australian, the Rwandan version of this. That's the Rwandan Green Party. The Green Party's position is no more foreigners. Refugees not welcome.
Yeah, because it's funny, all the woke lefties hear their arguments in favour of, because the UK has incredibly high levels of immigration. We have net migration. I think in 2021 or 2020 it was 715,000. That's the official figure. So, realistically, including unofficial people, we're looking at over 1 million, which is, an enormous amount of immigration. And obviously, immigration brings a lot of benefits, but the benefits tend to be concentrated in the wealthy people who, property prices go up because there's more competition for housing. You get cheaper nannies, cheaper, people doing, the menial tasks that, people are brought into the country to do instead of, rebalance the economy so working people get a better wage. But if you're a working class person, if you're a builder, all of a sudden you're competing against if you're young and looking for a cheap job, too bad. Yeah. If you've got a mortgage and a family and cars and all the rest of it to support, man, you can't compete against three guys who can share a room and they're sending money back home. So it's not the solution. Obviously, a certain amount of immigration is necessary and helpful and useful to society.
We're not even at this
mass immigration, and to have
we're not even at the stage of talking about legal immigration though. This is purely about
this is purely yeah
people who are just taking the piss.
Yeah. And fighting age young men from ideologies that are slightly.
If we go to
suspicious.
the next one, we can see also because we covered this when it first came out, which is the Danish government were actually the ones initially to set up this negotiation, and the Danish government is working with us because we're doing it as a joint thing. And they came up with the idea, and the British were like, "Hey, can we get in on this?" And then we've taken over the process. It seems, which is neat. But also, it's very misogynistic to say Rwanda's a terrible place.
Yeah.
Don't you know there are feminists? All of them are feminists. They have the most feminist government around.
Do they?
I'm not even joking. Let's go to the next link. Let's just go to their website for their parliament here. 61% of MPs are women.
Oh my God!
Ridiculously high. The highest in the world.
I want to go to Rwanda.
All the women in parliament. You might wonder how that happened. If we go to the next one.
Imagine if they all get in sync.
Yeah, but we joke about identity politics, and if you want to see a real world example of them trying this, well, here you have it, in which they have basically a one-party state because, in partly because of this, because 24 of the seats in the parliament are made for women.
Yeah.
As in, you're a woman, be an MP. Like, just there to represent women. That is your whole purpose. And the argument being, the reason they put this in the Constitution, I read, was that they decided that it was mostly men that caused the genocide 25 years ago.
Good
Therefore,
point.
Women in the parliament, no more genocide.
Well, has there been a genocide since?
No.
It's working.
The system works.
We need to do that here in case we have genocide.
Yeah. If we go to the next one, I don't know if you... this is the Constitution. I won't go through it, but it's just in here. They mentioned that 24 seats have to be women made by the Electoral College, which I just found hilarious. That's in the Constitution. Because what a show. If we go to the next one, there's also a story here in which the Guardian are very mad. So Omar here, an asylum seeker, he's absolutely gutted that he's going to find out what Rwandan hospitality is like. And I was going to go through his long story.
So he's upset that he's been sent to Rwanda instead.
Yeah, he's very
He's going to be safe.
Yeah, it's going to be fine. But here's the thing as well. Like, he gives us this big long story about his life, how he got here. And it's so, not justifying what he's done because... He's so typical. He's a man who's decided to come to the UK because he speaks English and he says he's got family here, except that, that's, of course, something to be disputed until it's proven. However, he traveled through pretty much every safe country on Earth before he got here. The only thing that accepts him from the average person of the sea people is that he came from Afghanistan. And when actually polled, I remember because I did a video on this, 50% of those who come across from the sea people are Iranian.
Right.
Not even fleeing a war.
Right.
I was like, okay, well, you're not all gay.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, in which case, you could have stopped off anywhere else along the way.
Right, yeah.
So it's, again, just nonsense.
And a lot of people convert to Christianity when they get to the UK,
Yeah.
because then they
Convenient.
can say, well, I can't be sent back to wherever that is because they persecute Christians.
But also, I've left Islam, so I'd be killed.
Yeah,
so I've got to
yeah,
stay
yeah.
here now.
Yeah.
So, convenient timing to convert and believe in Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Although you may wonder why I get so mad about this, and I
Why
do
do
it.
you get so mad about this?
Well, I've got a good reason, which is that well, if we go to the next one, this is an interview we did, and I'm going to plug this premium video on Lotus here. Interview with Ji Park, and she's a North Korean defector who then got refugee status after her story and ended up in the UK.
Yeah.
And could not be more legitimate.
Yeah.
And we've mentioned this a million times. I've got a thing of a fetish with looking at the horror that is North Korea. And you go through story after story from defector, and you're just sat there reading it, being like, I hope on the next page they make it to South Korea. I hope they're safe. Because, if they get deported from China, they go back to North Korea into a concentration camp.
Yeah.
That's a refugee.
Yeah.
Not someone who's in France, and if they get found out, they get told, please go home. By the way, we won't check up on you. Like, no. These people are not legitimate when they're taking up spaces for genuine people who are in absolute hell, frankly.
And also sort of smearing the genuine refugees as, makes everybody suspicious of genuine refugees because they're like, well, is he really a refugee?
I mean, it used to be a given. If you go back and watch the debates of like the 2000s about this, people would always say, well, refugees, of course, because that's fine.
Yeah.
There wasn't a question
Yeah.
the refugees would ever be illegitimate.
Yeah.
Whereas in the modern day, they so often are because of the way our system works. The fact
And there's an industry grown up around it of lawyers and people who represent them, and all these like lengthy appeals processes which drag on for years. They get taxpayers' money to do that.
Yeah.
And they all read The Guardian.
But anyway, that's my personal hatred for this circumstance and why I'm so bitter about it.
Yeah.
I'd also like to mention, if you go to the next one here, GM Park has now published a book. I haven't been able to give it a read, but if you enjoyed the interview and would like to know more about her life, well, there you are. You can go give that a read.
So that's an evil right wing person promoting the book of a female refugee from North Korea.
Yeah, she's actually a member of the Conservatives as well. She's run as a councillor. She's running again in this election. So if you're voting in, I believe it was Bury, I might have that wrong.
Yeah.
But if you're voting in that constituency, you have to vote for her as well. I mean, there's no one else. Otherwise, that's it. That's the Rwandan solution to our sea people problem, which is if you're legitimate, you'll come back. If you're not,
Hey, if it's good enough for the EU, which according to a lot of the flags and the blue tick people on Twitter, the EU is a good thing. So if it's good enough for the EU, surely it's good enough for the UK.
Good enough for the EU, good enough for Denmark, good enough for the UN.
Yeah.
They'll be fine. It's not inhumane in the slightest.
Thank you for watching, and if you appreciated that segment from the podcast Lotus Eaters, you can support us and find more at lotuseaters.com. For instance, this latest article from Thomas Dowling on the Deep Think series we have going, this is Deep Think 4, the Postmodern Neo-Capitalism Thesis Part 1, Remarks on Neo-Marxism. And if you would like to find more from Tom, you can follow him on Getter at Thomas W. Dowling. Thank you and goodbye.